Welcome to another episode of the Mixtape Matinee. This is a special Halloween episode.
Spooky.
And we have our really good friend Maddie on. Thank you, Maddie, for being on here.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
It's a fun time.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Knoblauch is the American pronunciation.
Knoblauch. Maddie Knoblauch. Anyway. Maddie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I don't know. I'm friends with Cole. I play music every once in a while. I write some things and watch too many dumb horror movies.
That's why we wanted to have you on. You have an amazing VHS horror collection that I've seen in your apartment. So, and that one time I came over and we watched Bay of Blood. That was awesome.
That was a fun time.
I'll never forget that. It's a great movie watching experience.
That's an Italian giallo
film, yeah.
film.
So kind of like their type of slasher film. So for this Halloween episode, we're talking about two different horror films, and I kind of picked the first film that we watched together, which was a movie that I'd never heard of, but I saw that they released it on the Criterion channel for streaming, and they have like this for the month of October. They have this whole collection of witch movies, and I was thinking like, I've seen a lot of vampire movies, I've seen a lot of werewolves and zombie movies, but like witch films I haven't seen a whole lot of, and so this one kind of caught my eye just because of the Technicolor look of it. It's called V from 1967. This is a Russian, Soviet Union, I guess, because it was made in the 60s, gothic horror fantasy. And I don't even know how to pronounce the directors' names, but there's two different directors on this. Do you want to take a crack at that?
At the
Court?
directors?
Yeah.
I don't have them pulled up, but let me...
I'm curious to know if you'd be able to...
I'm sure that I will not pronounce them correctly, but let's pull it up.
I think you pronounce it... The last names are Yursov and Kropovich. No,
Yeah, that's pretty close.
I don't know.
Konstantin Yurshov and Georgy Kropachov.
I think you got it way better than I did.
That was a guess. So, I mean, I don't speak Russian.
Yeah,
So.
Neither do I. Anyway, this film was based on the story of the same name by the author Nikolai Gogol. And then the directors kind of took that story and then they wrote the screenplay for it. And this was actually the first Soviet era horror film to be officially released in the USSR.
Wow.
So that's kind of a flex on this film, I guess, if you could say anything about it. Basically, this film, the plot is pretty basic. There's this Russian Orthodox priest that I guess they have some kind of, I didn't look it up, but I guess they have a period where it's kind of like a vacation for him. And so he goes out with three friends and he ends up encountering this witch and that has kind of taken over the body of this girl, and this father invites him to come to this tiny little town that I think's in the Ukraine, in someplace in the Ukrainian area. And basically he has to stay with the body for 3 nights, and it's almost like he's performing an exorcist to try to get rid of the evil spirit that's inside of her. But every night he encounters a different... it encounters the spirit of this witch, and he has to survive every night until the last night. But it's kind of a funny movie. There's some humorous lines in there. There's a lot of different characters that you can kind of laugh at. But that's kind of the main gist of the film. And honestly, the main thing that made me want to watch it again was the witch aspect, and then also just the Technicolor look of it. Because there are those shots in the film where you see the witch at night, and they use a lot of cool colored lighting inside the church where a lot of this kind of horror type stuff happens. But what were your guys' thoughts on it as we watched it?
I mean, I thought it was just such a wonderfully fun time. There was a lot of camp along with the goofy dubbed in laughs that the priests had, the whole
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
and his whole character seemed very comical in a way to me, in his kind of like struggle with staying sober through his ordeal with this witch.
Right, yeah, because he kind of takes his alcoholism to an extreme because he's kind of like, I can't believe this is happening to me.
Yeah,
Almost
to like deal with the stresses
He
of his
needs the
nights.
liquid courage.
Oh yeah. He's just drinking all day to deal with his stresses, and then he like goes back to the church that one time he's holding up an empty bottle and like looking up to the statue of Jesus and be like, "Sorry, Father, I'm very weak-willed," while like tossing the empty bottle away. I thought it was a good old hoot and holler.
Yeah, it's a fun watch. I think the main thing in the movie that I guess kind of, other than the alcoholism, I guess that saves him, is every time he has a piece of chalk and he writes a circle around, which I think in folklore that has something to do with like the devil, evil spirits staying out. And luckily he stays inside that circle for most of the ordeals, for at least 2 of the nights. And anyway, I don't know if we want to spoil it, but on the 3rd night something happens. And the main monster actually of the film, because the film is called, is it pronounced V? I think that's how you pronounce it, right? Vi? V.
It's either V or Vi.
Anyway, that is the name of the monster in Russian folklore, of a monster that has really long eyelids. And then if you open them up, then I think you turn to stone.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Medusa almost. Kind of interesting because in the film, it's like at the end of the film, you see the monster, the Vi monster come in. And it is it's very campy when they come in. Just because, this was a movie, I think it was a low budget film, and they just made a really kind of funny costume to make this monster come to life. So it was kind of funny. What were your thoughts on it, Corey?
I liked that you could tell that it was definitely inspired by Russian folklore. Like that was the main thing that I enjoyed about it, was like being exposed to this element of Russian folklore. Apparently it follows the folklore pretty well.
Yeah, I was looking up, like I read the actual outline of the story, and the movie follows it pretty much exact. Like how it happens, how every night there's something supernatural that happens with the witch's body. Like one night it seems like she's blind and she's trying to find him, and then she finally finds him, but because of the circle she can't attack him. The second night her casket starts flying around the room. Yeah. That part was actually funny because it made me think I was like on a Disneyland ride. Yeah. Like it made me think of the Haunted Mansion ride, because she's kind of sitting he's sitting in the casket like she's like on a seat, and the casket's just going
around
and there's like
around.
Just funny sound effects. Yeah, very, very campy. I'm sure at the time it freaked the Russians out, I'm sure.
Oh,
because
yeah.
they're probably very familiar with this folklore story. Anyway, that part was kind of funny. And then the 3rd night, like all the goblins and demons come out.
Yeah.
She kind of summons all these monsters, which was kind of interesting. There was that one shot, a lot of cool practical effects in this film, actually. There was that one shot where you see a lot of the arms coming out of this piece of wood that they got, and they cut holes in it. And it's like grabbing it. Yeah, that part was really interesting. And they used, I think they just painted. It would look like full body paint that they painted these guys in to make them look like these ghouls and goblin type things.
Really cool
creatures,
makeup and practical effects.
Yeah,
for sure.
There was a lot. I noticed as far as like photography goes, like there was a lot of shots that I think they did a lot in the studio, because there was very few location shooting. And I remember the coolest shot, actually, and we commented on it when we were watching it, was when he is flying with the witch, and then he lands back down. There's that shot where it's actually a rotating.
yeah.
You can tell that it's a whole. They built this. It's kind of crazy. They built this whole platform on this spinning round set, and he's like running. Anyway, it was interesting.
But it's just rotating.
Yeah, it
And
was like
creates the effect that he's running.
it's very unique, and I think
Yeah.
they probably did that because they didn't have a lot of money, so they had to be creative with their time and.
And you can keep the
So-
camera still and steady while
Yeah.
it still looks like he's running a long
Yeah.
distance. It was very impressive how they were able to pull that off.
Yeah, and then they must have had some kind of like smoke machine too to make it kind of have like a foggy night look. Anyway, that was kind of cool too. I like that aspect of the film.
I appreciated the Russian drinking songs.
Yeah, the bar songs when they
Yeah.
all get together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting because the town that the priest goes to, there's like a lot of older guys, and they're all just sitting around. They know something's up. Like they know, they're like, what was it like in there?
Yeah.
What was the witch like? Without even like really talking about it, they just knew instinctually or something. I don't know if it has to do with. I don't know if there was a lot of like superstition in the Russian culture or back in that time, because I think this story takes place in the late 1800s, but
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure there's definitely some context that we're missing, lost in translation of just not living in this culture and understanding
for
really
sure.
the folklore. But
Yeah, this movie made me think of because it's like it's folklore, so it made me think of The Witch, the Robert Eggers film.
I can definitely see
So
that. Yeah.
we're a little more acquainted with that because that takes place in early America, like with the settlers coming over. So if you're a fan of The Witch, I would recommend watching this. I've never really. I think this is like the first Russian horror film I've ever seen. How about you guys?
I think so.
I think
Yeah.
this would probably be the first Russian horror film I've seen. It reminded me a lot of the Hellboy comics and Mike Mignola's work because he takes a lot of inspiration from like European folklore and these old folk horror films, and especially the scene of all the like kind of demon goblin creatures coming out of the walls of the churches, the little gray dudes and everything.
Yeah, they look like little spiders.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
especially reminded me all of McNola's little creatures. So I'd recommend if you're a fan of the Hellboy universe at all to give this movie a check out.
Interesting. It also made me think of the Fantasia scene, Night on Bald Mountain.
Yeah.
Because that
Okay.
I think that's a Russian composer. I think that comes from Russian folklore too. There's all those little devils that are dancing around the mountain.
There's like Chernobog and Belobog.
So, Maddie, as our expert horror person, have you ever heard of this film before? Before I brought it up.
First of all, I would definitely not call myself an expert in horror, and I definitely had not heard about this movie before.
You're an expert compared to me and Court. 'Cause,
That's
like,
true.
this is like
That's
an
true.
area where I don't really watch a whole lot of horror films, so this was kind of a fun episode to do. But
And this was definitely out of my genre wheelhouse in horror. I gravitate a lot more towards slasher, splatter, grindhouse type stuff. So
okay,
it was really cool to see this old foreign film that I would have not have seen if you hadn't
yeah.
sat me down and watched it. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Well, it was cool to see kind of the Russian take on
Oh,
their
yeah.
folklore and then like incorporating horror elements into it. But I did like the lightheartedness. There's some aspects of the film that you can laugh at. There's characters that are obviously written to be laughed at with like what they say and stuff.
And it was very goofy to us, but imagining being like some little Russian kid where your grandma for your whole life has been warning you about this
Yeah.
long eyelidded man.
You gotta watch out for the vibe.
And then you just like stumble across this movie on public
Like,
access
oh my gosh.
television. It would terrify me as a little kid. I'd
Yeah,
be,
that's
I'm
true.
sure.
That's
back
true.
in the 60s, and they're like, what the heck is this? Court, do you have any other thoughts on this film?
I thought it was interesting, the representation of the Orthodox Church.
Oh, yeah, that
because-
was an interesting aspect.
Just because this is Soviet era movie, so I was interested in just their depiction of it. It really makes the priests, all the young priests, seem like kind of they don't take it very
Inexperienced.
seriously. Like at the
Yeah.
beginning, all the priests are gathered around and they're just being super.
They're like schoolboys.
Yeah, they're like
almost.
rowdy
Yeah.
and like I wondered about that depiction. I wondered if it was trying to kind of paint the church in a certain light.
Yeah. What do you think about the ending though? Like, because the ending of the film ends up with the main priest, his
Yeah.
friends are kind of sitting there. They're kind of being lazy. Like,
Yeah.
are you guys working? And they're like, oh yeah, we are.
And they're
Yeah.
drinking on the job and just
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
snacking around.
It was
and
kind of an
bullshitting.
interesting way to like go back to them because they
Yeah.
weren't like minor characters at the beginning of the film, and then it
Yeah.
kind of goes back, and that's how it ends. Is
Yeah.
like I guess them still being. I guess it's a way of saying they're still being those kind of lazy schoolboy
Yeah.
type characters that you kind of see at the beginning of the film. I guess that there's no growth, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas the main character, he goes through a lot of crazy experiences
Yeah.
through the supernatural kind of world that he's thrown into, going into
Yeah.
like this little village.
Yeah. Probably the
So-
climax of the film for me is the climax of the film when all the monsters come out and you get to see all the cool makeup effects and all the cool little creatures and big creatures that come out of the walls. And I felt like that was the coolest aspect of the film, was just, other than it being based on Russian folklore, which I think is super legit. I think that's super
Yeah.
cool. I love folklore. I love learning other countries' folklore. Other than that aspect, my favorite aspect was all the monsters that, yeah, some of them definitely looked more campy than others, but like I
Yeah,
appreciated
definitely.
it. I thought it was cool.
Definitely. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, if you guys have a chance to, definitely check this movie out. If you're into the folklore horror type
It's
genre.
not very
so.
scary.
Yeah, it's
I'll
not
say that.
scary, but like I said, the folklore aspect is cool, and there's some really innovative practical effects that they do in the film that's really interesting for the time that they made this film. So go check it out. Okay, let's move on to the next film. Maddie, tell us about the other movie pairing that we did for this week.
So, yeah, you two had basically just told me to bring a movie for you to watch that I really liked. So, I brought Creepshow 2.
Maybe you don't get out much.
Oh, this is crazy.
Come on, it's not so bad once you're in.
Or maybe you just have other things on your mind. But few like movies that will keep you stuck to your chair. Stephen King and George Romero have conjured up an all-new Creepshow just for you. Creepshow 2.
Which was kind of my introduction to horror as a little kid. I probably watched it 7 or 8, and it changed my life for the worse, and have grown an addiction to this genre and campy films. And I had a fun time watching it with you guys.
Did you originally watch Creepshow 1 first, or did you watch Creepshow 2 first when you were little? Or do you remember?
I don't remember exactly. It was either one of them, and just like my mom was away from the house tonight. My dad's like, "We're gonna watch some weird stuff, so don't tell your mom when she gets home."
Yeah. Well, Creepshow 2 looks like it was released in 1987. It was directed by Michael Gornick. And the screenplay, interestingly enough, was written by George A. Romero, who famously made the Night of the Living Dead films. And this film is kind of, it's an assortment of 3 different short stories, all based off of Stephen King's writings, right?
Yeah. And they are going to be stories that you won't immediately associate with Stephen King, stuff from his like short story collections or published in little magazines. Really great way to be introduced to some Stephen King stories you might not have heard of before.
Yeah, and you were saying while we were watching it that this is kind of based off of comic books as well.
Yeah, Stephen King and George Romero were big fans of these comic books that when they were growing up, Tales from the Crypt, that were very pulpy British horror that have gone prolifically down in horror as changing the Comic Code Authority and there was a huge legal battle about them.
Wow.
And so it's wild to see this movie that came out a couple decades after it get so much edgier and wilder than those comics ever possibly could have, and it did not cause any legal battles or anything.
Huh, interesting. What were the legal battles about?
Supposedly the Tales from the Crypt comics were teaching kids how to like murder people. And,
Oh, dang.
it's your age-old tale of any pop culture that gets a little edgy for the kids. Ends up being the worst thing that could be possible for kids. We see it nowadays with violent video games and the soapbox grandstanding that people do nowadays.
So true.
Huh. That's interesting. So none of these stories though were in the original Tales from the Crypt. These are all stories that were in other publications.
Yeah,
Right.
these were all stories written by Stephen King, decades after Tales
And
from the Crypt.
I'm
stopped.
assuming that Tales from the Crypt, they just had a bunch of different writers at the time that wrote those stories, or do you know? Or was there like one guy that wrote all of those stories?
They had a lot of different writers at the time, and a lot of them didn't even really like to be associated with that type of work because it was seen as low class. A lot of the artists
Right.
went under pseudonyms so that their like more professional work wouldn't be associated with it.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was... I've never seen anything like this film, but I love how you kind of started out with it, talking about how it being campy. This is like definitely campy horror. There's some funny aspects to it. But the first, right off the bat, kind of the first little short story is one that's called Old Chief Woodenhead.
Yeah, and it's definitely of the time. There's a lot of Native American stereotypes in it that feel a little gross nowadays, but yeah, it's a weird opener for the movie.
Yeah, it's basically this shopkeeper, him and his wife. Unfortunately, they get these heirlooms from this Native American man, and unfortunately, spoiler alert, they die. And then the spirit of this Indian takes the form of this wooden statue, and then goes after the people that killed this couple. And so just kind of brutal ways and violent ways.
A lot of these stories are basically revenge stories. It builds up a reason for why you want to see this character get killed, and then it shows you a horrible way to kill that character that you want to see die. And that's kind of...
Yeah, so that's the first one.
They're
is
almost like
so-
morality plays in a way. It's like
Yeah.
it's like this is a bad thing, and then this is the comeuppance that happens.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second story is one that's called The Raft. It's about these kids that go to this pond. There's a lake, I guess. They swim. And then they find out that there's this gooey monster that will attach and devour you. This one, to me, out of the three, this one seemed like the most terrifying. I think if I would have watched this as a kid, this would have probably scarred me.
Oh, yeah. It stuck with me until nowadays.
Well, the special effects on it, like the practical special effects, are crazy. And you were actually telling us, like while we were watching the movie, that the one guy that plays the kind of the narrator, Tom Savini, you're saying he's kind of famous for special effects. Do you know if he did the special effects for this film?
For makeup.
yeah,
makeup.
Yeah, he did the special effects for this film.
Man, he did a great job, like on that story. It's crazy. I don't know how they did it, but they make like the slime and the goo, like they make it look like it's like dissolving the skin and
And it's like
and the
going
muscle.
under the skin at certain sections.
yeah, it's crazy.
It's pretty.
I wonder how they did
nasty.
it.
I
It's
don't
kinda
know.
crazy. I'm sure those kids probably hated filming. I bet you they had to stay on that raft,
For a long
that
time.
dock for a long time because it's in the middle of this lake.
Oh, and I bet
And
it was cold because like a
Oh, I
lot of the
bet,
shots are at night.
Yeah.
It looks uncomfortable, and they're very scantily clad for most of it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
It was probably a very uncomfortable shooting experience.
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, by the end of the film, like you said, most well, when we were watching it, you were like, don't get attached to any of these characters. And then and those 4 high school kids ended up they end up dying all from this slime monster, which is crazy.
Yeah,
Kinda
they
funny.
all just get horribly dissolved in like this disgusting body horror, and what like can't really be conveyed in the film, but was explored better in the original short story is that when you look into the mass of this blobby mess, it has this anglerfish aspect to it where it just gazing upon it gives you this like euphoric psychedelic experience.
Oh, so you want to go towards it.
So you want to go towards it. And so the last dude alive at the end of the raft, when he's on there, he realizes he's going to die no matter what. So he might at least have a decent way of going out. So
Dang.
he
So
just
he
stares into it.
So what was this story called, like the original that Stephen King made? Was it called The Raft?
It is The Raft.
Okay.
My publication of The Twilight Zone I have has very big, bold letters on the front. The Raft. And like a really cool oil painting.
Is it a pretty long story, or is it
fairly short.
pretty
I remember
short?
being like 20 pages or so.
So are you surprised like that they were able to get as much out of the short stories as they did in this film?
Not too really. They usually have to like cut down Stephen King's stories so incredibly much. So it,
Oh, because he just has so much stuff.
yeah, it
Okay.
makes more sense to take his short stories. At least to me, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think actually The Green Mile, that was a short story. They made that into a movie. And then Shawshank Redemption, I think that was a short story too.
I think it's fairly short. I think
yeah.
they're standalone books, but
But then they made those into like full-length movies too, so.
yeah.
Then the last story of the film is called The Hitchhiker. It's about this lady that
Thanks for the ride,
yeah.
lady.
It's this lady that hits this guy, and then the whole time she's like freaking out about it. And then this guy comes back as like kind of a zombie character, and he keeps saying "Thanks for the ride, lady," and it made me laugh a lot when we were watching it.
Cole really enjoyed that line, and I enjoyed how much Cole enjoyed that line.
This last story was so funny and probably like the most campiest out of all of it.
Oh,
Like
totally.
I felt like this one was the one that you could definitely laugh at. Which is funny because The Raft to me seemed like the most terrifying, and then this one seemed the most funny.
Yeah.
It's like one like I don't know. How did you guys feel about? That's how I felt about it.
Yeah, you get a laugh at it, and you want to see her get her comeuppance because she just completely killed this dude and then drives away.
Basically, hit and run and then leaves. What was the scariest story for you guys? If you could say scariest,
Probably The Rat.
I think The Raft, just the idea of being out
it's
there.
kind of terrifying. Yeah,
Well, because there's already something about like bodies of water that
right. You don't know
can be
what's
kind of
underneath.
creepy. You don't know what's in there. You don't know. Yeah.
It's like they're a big fish that's going to come up and lick my foot
yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, that one was probably the scariest one for me.
Thanks for the ride, lady. He basically keeps saying it, and like she keeps trying to like hit him and like run him over, and
You
then
just watch him
by-
get progressively
like by
more
the
mangled.
by the end, like the
his like eyeballs are like
makeup-
halfway down his face.
makeup's crazy, and you can see the tongue. It's pretty grotesque,
Pretty
but it's like
grotesque.
crazy. Thanks for the ride, lady.
Oh yeah, just like some of the best practical effects for the time. Just sopping wet with fake blood and corn syrup. Is
Yeah,
great.
I would say like if you want to have fun on Halloween, like just watch The Hitchhiker. Just I wonder if you can Google it on YouTube, but like it would be fun to. I mean, it was fun watching it with you guys, but it would be fun to like watch it with a big group of people.
Yeah, yeah. And if you just want to watch that one, you could skip to like the last third of the movie. They're all completely separate stories.
I thought it was interesting that Stephen King makes a cameo
Oh yeah, Stephen
as
King.
a truck driver.
Yeah, he's like, is that a black guy?
Yeah.
You know,
what
he's
And then you were
he
telling us-
specifically says that line when he like walks up on the hitchhiker, as you were saying, looks like a black dude.
Yeah, it's so random.
And then you were telling us the whole history of his weird, like how he writes people of color.
Oh yeah, it is. It's definitely a trope for him to write the magical black dude. And yeah, he's got a weird obsession with racial minorities, as we saw earlier with the Chief Woodenhead.
He kind of writes tropes.
Yeah, yeah, he's definitely got a set stone way people are like born away.
Yeah. So I just looked it up, and you can watch The Hitchhiker from Creepshow 2. It's on YouTube. We'll link that in the episode. So if you want to have a good laugh on Halloween, you can watch that. But also check out the other two stories because they're interesting to watch. And the other thing I will say about The Hitchhiker story that I thought was pretty crazy was the stunts that they did. Like the stunt guy that was like hanging on the car. There was that one shot where he's like on the side of the car. I don't know how they did that and he didn't get hurt, and then there's the other shot where you see a stuntman on top of the car and he's like trying to get in and grab her.
The first movie the first story when it started out kind of reminded me of the old like church videos that were like gonna teach you a lesson, and then all of a sudden it turned into this
Like this really violent thing.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, like
Oh yeah, it's just like these cute little old couple having a nice talk on a porch, and then they close the door, and it's me like, "Get back, old man, or I'm gonna blow your old lady up." And you're like, oh shit!
I'm like, whoa, this changed. Yeah.
And then there's the shot where the one fat guy gets shot with arrows, and you're like, whoa! And that's when you first start seeing like the violent, like the wooden Indian like coming after them. Kind of interesting, getting back revenge on their evil deed. So anyway, yeah, these two films were super fun to watch for Halloween. So if you guys get an opportunity, definitely check these films out. Cool. What would you guys rate them?
Yeah, that's a good
out of 5.
Out of 5. I think with Vi or V, we should find out how it's spelled VIY. So if you want to look it up, I think I would probably give it a 3.5.
That's what I gave it.
Yeah. And then for all of its campiness and for what it is, I mean, you just got to appreciate it, what it is. I mean, it has one thing we didn't mention about the second film is it's interspliced with these animated moments.
Kind of calling back to like the comic books.
Yeah.
And it's kind of telling a subplot of this kid like waiting to get the Creepshow comic book.
Like I like how it embraces what it is. I would rate it higher than Vi, maybe like a 3.8.
I'd probably say the same thing. I think it was more fun. It was more entertaining. I think that I think the Russian film had. I think there was a lot of like underlying things that it was trying to say. I think it was using horror to express,
and it was really innovative,
topics
probably.
But the Creepshow, that was just fun. That was just like all around kind of like fun horror, and I could see how like, I think if I would have watched it maybe as a younger person, maybe it would have gotten me hooked on horror stuff. Yeah, but I just never had that. I didn't have that.
You were
movie
never
experience.
reading the Goosebumps books. I
did, but. Not, I didn't really I never got excited about it. For me,
I was a little treehouse kid.
You were a treehouse kid?
Isn't that what it's called? The Treehouse?
Yeah, the Treehouse Club.
The Treehouse Club, yeah.
Or something like that.
Those are the books that
Dude, I was reading Harry Potter, I guess. That's what I was reading. But yeah, I could see how, like, since you were, like, watching this as a young kid, Maddie, I could see how this influenced you on horror films. So
how about you, Maddie? What ratings do you think you'd give?
I think for Vi, I would give it probably a 3 out of 5. Mainly for that last scene saving it. The rest of it was fairly a slow build up. Although it was a very fun movie, it would be I think it is kind of a must watch just to understand the time aspect and the culture around the releasing of that. And then I am also very biased in Creepshow, and I'd probably give that a 4.5 out of 5. But that I do.
Well, there's a huge nostalgia factor for you. Probably.
I do recognize my own biases, and it just always makes me happy to watch that film.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, so everyone go out and watch these films and let us know what you think of them. We hope you have a safe Halloween this year, and please go follow Maddie. We'll link their socials in the show notes, and check out what they're doing with music. Very exciting.
See you next week.